Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I'm ready to do my full review on this glorious little fixed blade. This is my Alex Steingraber, or Steingraber Performance Knives Shark in Vanax Superclean. If you've watched my unboxing or first impressions of this knife, you'll know that as of when I'm filming this, there are only two of this knife in existence. This one, and the one that Alex kept personally so that he could test it and feel how he felt about Vanax in real application. I was really excited that he allowed me to purchase this knife, and he also allowed me to pick the terotuf color. So of course I went with seafoam because seafoam terotuf is the best. Anyways, I have had this knife now for a couple of weeks. This is frankly long overdue. And I'm going to do this review standing up because I have been sitting way too much up here today. I ate my lunch sitting down, and then I filmed a couple of videos, and now I'm ready to stand before I hike back out of here. But this knife has exceeded my expectations, and my expectations of it were very, very high. You'll probably see right off the bat, I ended up taking the clip off of this knife fairly quickly, and I just ran this paracord through the hole and up over the top and tied it off and fused it with a lighter in a pretty ugly job. But I've been carrying this knife horizontally, a la my Bradford Guardian 3. So EDCing a fixed blade has been an interesting quest for me. I found when I tried it with my SE Azula 2, didn't really like it because it only carried vertically the way that I had that sheath set up, and setting it up for horizontal with that sheath didn't really work very well. I know there are sheath options out there to make it much better, but I just never went that route, and that knife ended up living on my pack like this for a long time. So that just didn't really work. And then I gave it a proper shot with the Bradford Guardian 3, and that went very well. Part of why that went so well, sorry, I just drank so much mate, I'm like trying to not burp while I'm talking. This is good. This is good stuff. Part of why it went so well with the Bradford Guardian 3 was because it carries horizontal. So I could put it kind of appendix just to the right of my belt buckle. And no, I don't wear like a belt buckle, but my belt clasp, latch, I don't know. I just wear, you guys are picturing me with like a big steer belt buckle. It's not what I wear. Anyways, carrying it horizontally just to the right of my belt attachment point was very comfortable and convenient. So this one shipped with an ulti clip, and I liked that, but I didn't love it. And I found that carrying it in that way was just, it's not comfortable for me to EDC a fixed blade if it's not horizontal. So I know that now, partially, I'm going to take credit to a degree because of my conversations with Alex, and I think a number of people. He had seen running soft loops, and people had asked about soft loops. Now he offers it as an option, so you can get your sheath with soft loops when you purchase the knife. So it'll be the same sheath, from what I understand, but with soft loops instead of the ulti clip. I'm a cheap little bee, so I just did it this route. I put a nice tight piece of paracord on here, and I pulled the center out so it's not like thick and round anymore, and I just run my belt through it like that, and it goes great. It's worked really, really well for me. Maybe eventually I'll put a soft loop on here, but for now this has worked really well, and it's been nice and minimalist and slim, and I like that. This knife is also stupid lightweight, like really, really lightweight. Part of that is because it is a nice thin stock all the way through. Terotuf is not a heavy material, and so altogether it's not a heavy knife. And the lightness mixed with the thinness, mixed with carrying it horizontal, has made it a breeze to carry. I've carried it horizontal. I haven't like EDC'd it in the sense that it's been on me every day, but since I got it, it's been on me in that way probably 8 or 9 times. And I like carrying it that way. It's been very pleasant, and it's just good. So carry with this thing is nice. Now, Steingraber Performance Knives, what Alex does over there is very focused on geometry. If you look at his apparel, it literally says geometry cuts, and he is very good at creating a blade profile that cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts. I have used this knife a ton for EDC stuff. This is not an outdoor fixed blade for me, in the sense of like coming out and doing bushcrafty stuff with it, but it is rather inclined, or I'm inclined to use it for my typical EDC cutting tasks, what I would use a primary front right pocket folder for, and it excels at all of that. The ability that this blade has to cut through things like cardboard and just go and go and go and go and make it so effortless. This is the best cutting knife I've ever used for EDC type cutting tasks. It just is a laser at cutting through things. The thickness behind the edge, I believe Alex told me, and I have no reason to disbelieve him, is like 7 or 8 thousandths down here in this portion of the blade. That's really thin. And I had experienced knives before that I thought were pretty thin behind the edge, but they weren't this thin. And so it's like elevated, it's raised the bar of what I consider thin behind the edge at this point. And this is a custom knife, so holding production knives to a standard of being under 10 thousandths behind the edge, it's a little bit much to ask of a production knife company in a lot of ways, but maybe eventually we'll get there. I don't know, but I know I love this. It just cuts so well. It's still on his edge. I've stropped it twice. I've stropped it 2 times. So both of the times that I stropped it, it probably didn't even really like need it yet, but I'm a big fan of using stropping for maintenance and just keeping edges going. This edge is sticky sharp. It shaves hair at this point. It's just really, really good. Vanax is an awesome blade steel. I've done a video specifically talking about Vanax because I have it now in 2 knives. I have the Quiet Carry Waypoint, and I have this, both in Vanax Superclean blade steel. It is not a mythological steel. It does exist. I own it in a production knife and a custom now, and it's really, really good. One of the things I talked about in that video about Vanax, specifically comparing it to LC200N, I made the mistake, and I want to address it here, of saying that it's tougher than LC200N. It's not. LC200N is the tougher steel, but it does have better edge retention, and it is a little more stainless, based on the data and based on my anecdotal experimenting. It is about as stainless as a steel can get. It is virtually rust-proof. This knife, just like my Quiet Carry Waypoint, I have been getting wet every opportunity that I have to do so. If this riverbed was running right now, I would be dunking it in and talking about it soaking wet. And if I'm by a pool, a fountain, anything, I get the knife wet. And that is a lot of fun, but also just continues to prove how stainless the properties of this steel really are. Sorry about that. It is Veterans Day, so as I'm filming this, not when this will go live, but there are a lot of people out hiking today. I keep having to take little breaks to let people go by. But as I was saying, super rust resistant. I would go so far as to basically call it rust proof. I have not been able to get Vanax steel on either of my knives in Vanax to rust at all yet. Between salt water, chlorinated water, gutter water, river, stream water, like, I've gotten them wet and put them away wet so many times now. I haven't seen any of it. Also, terotuf being this material, terotuf doesn't rust. It's allowed to get wet. The hardware he uses on here is coated, so everything on here so far is perfect. There are no issues whatsoever with any kind of corrosion, and that's awesome. On top of that, Vanax has really, really good edge retention, considering how stainless it is. And Alex does his own heat treats, and he has target HRCs that he hits, and this knife he heat treated optimally for the properties of Vanax. And based on the performance I've gotten out of this knife so far, that I've only stropped it twice and I've been using it like crazy, the amount of cardboard that I've put this through, I mean, it's just really, really good on edge retention, and I'm super happy with it. It just gets me excited that this is a steel that I think is like advancing the the expectations of steel moving forward, that this is becoming a thing. We're starting to see it on more knives, hopefully more and more and more. It's a good thing, in my opinion. And this is like an ultimate version of it, being custom heat treated and ground to this profile. This is about as good as it gets, in my opinion. So this model is really, really excellent as an EDC fixed blade, in my opinion. Like I said, cutting abilities with this profile are bar none the best that I've experienced for things like going through cardboard. It's just really, really good. The handle profile, ergonomically, for my hands, is excellent as well. So the way that my hand interfaces with this handle is so good. It's remarkably comfortable. The way that this terotuf is rounded but still has these flats to index and know where my edges are very, very good. It's smooth but locked in. This swell to the back keeps me from feeling like it's going to slip out of my hand. This kind of guard here, if you want to call it that, keeps me from feeling like I'm going to slip forward onto the edge if I am doing piercing tasks. In a reverse grip, it's excellent. Feels as good as it does in a hammer or saber grip in this reverse grip. In a draw cut, it's really good. A reverse draw cut, very, very good. I mean, it's neutral, but it's got the swell, and it's shaped very well, and I love it. I love the way this knife feels in my hand. I love the way the blade performs as I'm cutting things. I love the materials that it's made out of. I adore this knife in just about every way. Alex is making more and more sharks at this point. He's doing batches, and if you stay on top of his Instagram, and I think he's got a mailing list and all that, they should be relatively easy to get. It might just be a little bit of a wait. But he's doing batches in all kinds of different steels, and that's really cool as well. He is an absolute nerd, and I mean that in the best way possible, about blade steels. And that's an amazing thing, because he's also a nerd about heat treating them to get the most out of them, and then grinding them into the profile that's going to make them perform the best. And it's just really, really cool to see. I wish that more makers were focused on performance like he is. But what's coolest to me, that being said, is that, like, it would be one thing to nerd out totally about the steel and get it to its optimum HRC, and then to grind the best possible edge and profile on it, but then fall short on fit and finish and on the design itself. And this is a knife that the design itself I adore. I love the profile of this blade. I love the way this knife is put together. I love the handle material. I love the way everything is finished. I love how simple it is, while still truly being, it's not just a rectangle, but it's simple, it's ergonomic, it's a shape that works and looks really good, and all of the finishing that he's done on here is excellent. His grind lines look phenomenal. I love the way he's doing the laser etching placement now. You get his maker's mark on the show side, nice and relatively understated. You get the steel right there, nice, relatively understated. Everything about it is just, it's put together really well, very tastefully, and that's in addition to it being the best performing EDC knife that I've ever really had. Certainly for a fixed blade, even counting all the folders. It doesn't carry like a folder. It's a fixed blade. So if you don't like EDCing fixed blades, then there's that. But I would implore people, if they're EDC fixed blade curious, to start with a Steingraber Performance knife. It's just, its performance is so good that you'll probably want to find a reason to carry it daily, if you can make it work. And for me, as I started with, the way to make it work is to do it horizontally with the paracord. It has worked. Whoa, I just dropped the sheath. With the paracord, it has worked excellently well. If you don't want to do it that way, you can do it with the UltiClip. He's got the options. I'm sure there are also people out there who could make you a custom sheath for it if you want a leather sheath instead of the Kydex he provides, or something like that. But find the way to carry it for you. That's what the trick has been for me, and for me that's horizontal, and now I love it. This is a knife that will be a forever knife for me, and that I will carry a lot, and I will use a lot. And if I know I've got to go process a bunch of cardboard, and maybe that cardboard is going to be soaking wet, then it's perfect. It's a piece of gear that I don't have to worry about having on me. On a rainy day, if I'm going on an adventure, going up a riverbed, if I've got a belt on me, then I can have this knife on me, and it can go anywhere that I can. And because of the materials that it's made of, I'm not worried about it corroding or anything like that. And then on top of it, the performance of it is just so excellent. It's a really, really tremendously amazing cutter. The best in my collection for the tasks it's designed to do. Again, this is not a robust, hefty chopper. This is not a knife that I'm going to be batoning with or anything like that. This is a knife for EDC tasks, and it is excellent at those. So one of these days, maybe I'll get a knife of his, like a Sasquatch and Rex 121 or something, if he does some more of those and the timing is right. Something that I can treat like an outdoor folder. That would be fun as well, because he's just kind of a wizard over there, and he's absolutely in my list of favorite fixed blade makers and favorite makers in general. And yeah, I just really like his knife. This is so cool, and the fact that it's in Vanax and it's got seafoam, terotuf, and all that just makes it even cooler. And I love this knife, I really do. So that'll be my full review on the Steingraber Performance Knives Shark in Vanax Superclean. I'm pumped about it. Really, really like this knife. Thanks, guys.